Have you ever noticed something funny? A tough old man who spent 40 years acting like nothing could hurt him suddenly tears up because his granddaughter drew him a stick figure with giant ears. A grandmother who survived things most people couldn't even imagine starts crying during a commercial about a puppy finding its way home. And somehow, the older they get, the easier it happens. 1 minute they're talking about the weather. The next minute, they're staring out the window saying, "That cloud looks exactly like the one we had in 1987. And now everybody in the room is emotional. What is going on? Did they suddenly become sensitive? Did aging secretly install a crying app nobody asked for? Or is something much deeper happening? According to Carl Jung, growing older doesn't make people weaker. It often makes them more connected, more aware, more human. And sometimes that means tears show up much faster than they used to. Now, before anybody jumps into the comments saying, "Not me, I'm 72 and I haven't cried since 1964. Give it time. Because if a video of a baby hugging a puppy can crack the armor of a retired army sergeant, nobody is completely safe. Today we're talking about 3 surprising reasons older people cry more easily. And trust me, the third one catches almost everyone off guard. As always, I want to hear from you. Have you become more emotional as you've gotten older? Or have you noticed it in your parents or grandparents? Drop your answer below. Let's see how many people secretly cried at a movie this month. No judgment. This is a safe place. Mostly. Because somebody is definitely going to admit they cried over a sandwich they dropped on the floor. And honestly, that's understandable. Let's jump in. Number 1. Memories become more powerful than people realize. Here's something nobody warns you about. When you're young, memories are like photos. When you're older, memories become time machines. A smell, a song, a random street, a certain type of food. Suddenly you're not standing in your kitchen anymore. You're 20 years old again. You're hearing voices you haven't heard in decades. You're seeing faces you miss. You're remembering moments you thought were gone forever, and that emotional wave can hit hard. Have you ever seen someone hear an old song and instantly freeze? They're not listening to music anymore. They're traveling. They're visiting people who aren't here anymore. They're revisiting chapters of life they thought were closed. That's why older people sometimes cry over things younger people don't fully understand. The tears aren't about the song. The tears are about everything attached to it. One song can contain an entire lifetime. Think about that for a second. A 3-minute melody can carry 40 years of memories. First dates, road trips, wedding dances, old friendships, family gatherings. Moments they would give anything to experience one more time. And suddenly their eyes start watering. Not because they're sad, not because they're weak, but because life feels incredibly real in that moment. Carl Jung believed that as people age, they naturally spend more time reflecting on their lives. They begin looking inward. The outside world becomes less important. The inner world becomes richer. And inside that world lives a mountain of memories. Some beautiful, some painful, some bittersweet. Now, here's the funny part. The memory triggers are getting completely out of control. A grandfather can be walking through a grocery store. He sees a brand of cookies he ate in 1979. And now he's standing in aisle 7 looking emotional. Meanwhile, everyone else thinks he's comparing prices. No. He's having a reunion with his past. And older viewers know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes a memory sneaks up on you like a ninja. You don't see it coming. 1 second, you're perfectly fine. The next second, you're staring at an old photograph wondering where all the years went. And honestly, that's one of the most human experiences there is. Life moves fast. Too fast. When people get older, they become more aware of that. The years stop feeling endless. Every memory starts carrying more meaning. Every old story feels more valuable. Every familiar face becomes more precious. And that emotional weight can easily bring tears, not because they're breaking down, because they're waking up to how much those moments mattered. And maybe you've experienced this yourself. Maybe you've opened an old box, found a photograph, read a letter, heard a voice recording, and suddenly felt emotions you weren't expecting. That's the power of memory. It doesn't ask permission. It just opens the door and walks in, and sometimes it brings tears with it. But here's where things get even more interesting, because memories are only part of the story. The second reason older people cry more easily is something almost nobody talks about. And once you see it, you'll notice it everywhere. Now, before we jump into number 2, let me ask you something. Are you enjoying this conversation? If you're sitting there smiling, nodding your head, or secretly thinking, wow, this sounds exactly like my dad, then do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss these conversations. Because every week we dive into the hidden side of human nature, aging, psychology, relationships, and the fascinating things Carl Jung noticed about people. And honestly, the comments section on this channel might be one of the most interesting places on YouTube. You all have stories, real stories, the kind that make people laugh, think, and sometimes tear up. So make sure you're part of this community. Now let's keep going. Number 2, they feel other people's pain more deeply. Here's something that surprises a lot of younger people. Many older people don't cry more because they're thinking about themselves. They cry more because they're thinking about everyone else. And the older they get, the harder it becomes to ignore what other people are going through. When you're younger, life is often about building a career, building relationships, building a future. You're running, you're chasing, you're focused on what's next. But after decades of living, something changes. People start noticing things they used to miss. The lonely person sitting by themselves, the tired cashier forcing a smile, the elderly man eating lunch alone, the young mother trying to manage 3 screaming children while pretending everything is fine. Older people see these things, and they feel them, because they've lived enough life to recognize what's hiding behind people's faces. A young person might see an angry man. An older person sees someone carrying pain. A young person sees a difficult neighbor. An older person sees someone who may be lonely. A young person sees tears. An older person sees the entire story behind those tears. Life teaches empathy, and empathy is emotional, very emotional. That's why older people can cry over things younger people barely notice. A news story, a family reunion, a random act of kindness, a stranger helping another stranger, and suddenly they're reaching for tissues. Meanwhile, the younger people in the room are confused. Why are you crying? And the older person says, I don't know. But they do know, they just don't have the words for it. What they're really feeling is humanity. They're feeling the beauty of people helping each other. They're feeling gratitude. They're feeling compassion. And those emotions can hit surprisingly hard. Now let's have a little fun here. Have you ever noticed that grandparents become emotional over the smallest things? A child ties their own shoe. Grandma is crying. A grandchild says, I love you. Grandpa is wiping tears. Somebody gets accepted into college. The entire older generation suddenly needs tissues. At first it seems funny, but think about it. They understand how precious those moments are. They know how quickly childhood disappears. They know how quickly years pass. They know that today's little moment becomes tomorrow's treasured memory. That's why they react differently. They're not seeing one moment. They're seeing the entire journey. Carl Jung believed that maturity brings greater awareness of life's deeper meaning. People begin looking beneath the surface. They stop focusing on appearances. They start focusing on what truly matters. love, connection, family, kindness, purpose. And when those things appear in front of them, even in small ways, emotions naturally rise. In fact, some older people become emotional because they finally stop pretending they aren't emotional. Let's be honest. Many people spent decades trying to look tough, trying to look strong, trying to hide what they felt. Then one day they wake up and think, you know what? I'm tired. Not physically, emotionally, tired of hiding, tired of acting, tired of pretending they don't care. And once that wall comes down, the tears start showing up a lot more often. Not because they became weaker, because they became more honest, and honestly, that's pretty beautiful. But the third reason, this one goes deeper than memories, deeper than empathy. It's the reason that catches so many people completely by surprise. And once it starts happening, it changes the way people see life forever. Number 3, they finally understand what really matters. This is the big one. The one Carl Jung would probably smile at and say, now we're getting somewhere. Because as people age, something remarkable happens. The things they once chased begin losing their power. The fancy titles, the status, the endless competition, the arguments that seemed important. The need to impress everyone. Little by little, those things start fading, and something else takes their place. Perspective. And perspective can be emotional, very emotional, because once people reach a certain age, they begin seeing life from the top of the mountain instead of the bottom. They've traveled the road. They've seen victories, failures, heartbreaks, miracles, unexpected blessings, painful lessons. And after all those years, they start realizing something. The moments they treasure most are rarely the moments they expected. It's not usually the promotion, not usually the expensive purchase, not usually the trophy. Instead, it's the dinner table conversations, the family vacations, the laughter, the friendships, the ordinary Tuesday afternoons that seemed ordinary at the time. And when they realize how valuable those moments were, the emotions come. Because life suddenly looks different. You stop asking, how much did I achieve, and start asking, how deeply did I live? That question alone can bring tears, not sad tears, meaningful tears, the kind that appear when you finally understand what was important all along. And here's something funny. Older people often laugh and cry at almost the same time. Have you noticed that? They'll tell a story, start laughing halfway through, then get emotional, then laugh again, then say, anyway, while everyone else in the room is confused. But that's because life isn't one emotion. It's all of them mixed together. Joy, gratitude, loss, love, hope, memories. They're all sitting at the same table, and older people know that better than anyone, because they've experienced all of it. They know life is beautiful and temporary, and somehow those two truths existing together can be enough to make tears appear, not from sadness, but from appreciation. The appreciation that comes from finally understanding how precious every day really is. And maybe that's the biggest surprise of all. People often assume that crying more means becoming weaker. But what if the opposite is true? What if some tears are actually signs of wisdom? Think about it. A person who has lived through decades of life, who has loved deeply, lost people they cared about, made mistakes, learned lessons, watched children grow up, watched entire chapters of life come and go. That person sees the world differently. They notice things others miss. They appreciate things others overlook. And sometimes that appreciation becomes so powerful that it spills out through tears. Carl Jung believed that the second half of life is not about becoming more successful. It's about becoming more complete. And maybe that's exactly what's happening. The older people get, the more complete they become. The walls come down. The masks fall away, the heart opens, and suddenly emotions can flow more freely. A song means more, a memory means more, a hug means more, a simple moment means more. Because they know something many younger people are still discovering. Nothing lasts forever, and that realization changes everything. It makes ordinary moments extraordinary. It makes family more valuable. It makes friendship more meaningful. It makes kindness feel like a gift. And yes, sometimes it makes people cry. But maybe those tears aren't something to hide. Maybe they're proof that a person has truly lived. Proof that they have loved. Proof that they still care. And in a world where so many people are trying to feel less, there is something beautiful about someone who still feels deeply. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you become more emotional as you've gotten older? Or have you noticed this happening to your parents, grandparents, or someone close to you? Share your story in the comments below. I read the comments, and honestly, some of the most touching stories come from this community. And if this video spoke to you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more conversations about Carl Jung, human nature, aging, relationships, and the hidden lessons that make life so fascinating. And remember this: sometimes the people who cry the easiest aren't the weakest people in the room. They're simply the ones who finally understand how precious life really is. Take care of yourself, take care of the people you love, and I'll see you in the next video.